Behind every brand, every movement, every leader, every transformation, there's a story. And intertwined in these stories is a message. And this podcast is for you, the next gen leader, coach, entrepreneur, and influencer. My name is Travis Brady, and I'm a branding mentor and sales story strategist. I hope you see me more of a guide than a host as I share the stories behind the brands, so you can take these stories, experiences, principles, and teachings and use them to share your story with the world. Welcome back to the story behind the brand. We got a powerhouse today, Samara Beth. I'm going to read her bio because she is a rock star and there's so many things I want to highlight. She's a keynote speaker, 10X certified business coach, national award-winning event producer, and best-selling author with careers spanning over 30 years across North America as the founder and CEO of Samara Beth Co. She empowers entrepreneurs to win their brand by creating powerful, memorable brands through marketing, events, experiential training, retreats, publications, and stages, increasing the revenues, visibility, and brand impact. Together with her business partner, Samara Beth launched Poolside Press LLC, a best-selling book publishing and promotional boutique that creates authority positioning authors into transformational go-to experts in their industries, as well as filling bucket list authors of most genres. Her win pillar: willpower to overcome challenges, innovation to think differently, and networking to build powerful communities, and have helped countless businesses scale successfully. I've lived in 13 cities, 30 homes, mostly as a military and is it say expat? Expat house spouse. Sorry, I'm already messing it up. Known for a contagious energy, she's inspired thousands through her speaking engagements, courses, retreats, and books, helping individuals turn obstacles and opportunities. Recognized as Volunteer of the Year and Humanitarian Award recipient, she continues to uplift others, leaving a lasting impact wherever she goes. Man, I mess it up, but that is a powerhouse bio there. Welcome to the story behind the brand. I'm excited to have you. Fill in the gaps. Tell the audience a little bit more about you. You're on mute right now.
Thank you, Travis, for having me on your show. Oh, good. You didn't hear me laughing then. I was on mute. First of all, I will explain all of that crazy, well-organized, controlled chaos is what I call my life. I'm literally a reinvention maverick. Being married to the Navy and then later oil and gas, which is the expat, meant moving a lot. I did this for 22 years. And every 3 months to 5 years, I was packing and unpacking our life, building a new village. And for my family, I have a 15-year-old and 21-year-old now, moving or restarting my businesses, rinse and repeat. And then it ended in divorce. My husband became my husband, and I became a single working mom of 2 kids and no working coffee machine. True. I remember standing in my empty home office surrounded by 30. Oh my God, you're not even gonna believe this. I've lived in 30 homes, right?
That's
13
crazy.
cities. And I
That's
think you
crazy.
mentioned that. But I'm in my 13th city, 30th home, and I'm asking myself, and I'm literally in tears. My dad had just had a stroke the day before. We lost him 8 weeks later. And I'm like, oh my God, how am I gonna do this again? Like, I can't do this again. But I did. I restarted. And like many of you, starting over your life, your business, your identity can feel freaking impossible at times. And then
Hmm.
I remembered I'm resilient like bamboo. One
Yeah.
of nature's strongest materials. It bends, it doesn't break, especially in the storms.
Yeah.
And so we just have to get through the ebbs and flows, the economy, the wars, the tariffs, the divorces, the floods, all of it. And I've been through a lot of it. So
Yeah, it's really a unique time in our world's history. You know, AI is taking off, business is transforming like right before our eyes. It's crazy. Just in the last few months, through just a few AI tools, I've been literally able to quadruple my production, which honestly
wow.
just puts you at the average. It just puts you in average, in my opinion, you know, because everyone else is kind of doing the same thing. But 30 homes, that is crazy. I was thinking, I was like, how many homes have I lived in? One, two, three, four, five, six.
Okay.
Six. Yeah.
30.
Five
Five,
times
five,
that.
five.
That is crazy. That is literally crazy. Yeah, fun fact too, I've never paid a dollar of rent ever in my entire life. I went from living at my parents' house to buying my own house to buying another house, blah blah blah. So yeah, I've never lived in another house. So it's crazy that you've moved so many times through the process. What have you learned? What you've learned lived in a lot of different cities. You've been in a lot of different cultures. Explain how that impacted you.
That's a great question. I love that because it is true that there's a different culture in every city. So when you think I was born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland, went to University of Maryland, and then immediately had a job in New York City as a corporate event planner. This is in the 90s. This is like where you're watching Working Girl and and stock market, shows and Wall Street, and you're like going to be that person eating folded pizza and your coffee on the go and walking really fast and hailing cabs in the pouring down rain. So that was really an exciting time for me because I was able to be in that fast culture, which, if you haven't noticed, I can be a little bit speedy. So
Yeah.
so for me, it was really exciting. But then we also, and we've bought houses, sold houses, built houses, rented apartments, have lived in hotels. I've lived in hotels. That didn't even count the 30.
Wow.
So there's just a crazy lifestyle change. And when you go from like the fast life to being a Navy wife, and we were submarines. So being a Navy wife and moving to Florida and Charleston, like slow, low country cuisine and
Yeah.
shrimp and grits. Oh my God, shrimp and grits, so good. And the food and the wine and the drinks changed, which I loved as an
Mhm.
event planner. And I was still planning events in New York City, but living in these states where people couldn't drive a car. But then I would live in Hawaii where you're living with aloha, drinking a beer, going to the beach. Yo, brah, all the cars are breaking down on the highways. Like it was crazy. And then we moved to Houston, and it was a whole nother level of speed and
Mhm.
flooding and hurricanes and all that. So yeah, throughout the periods, and even moving to Canada. So I lived in Vancouver in British Columbia for 5 years. We moved there because my husband was building a natural gas plant. We were still married. So we moved there from Houston, and I ran my business for 12 years out of Houston, but I had to move it to Vancouver and still fly back and forth to all these events. But when we were in Vancouver, it was a very large Asian community. So that's the thing too, is I had to learn Spanish in certain cities. I had to
Mhm.
learn French in others, Mandarin, ni hao ma.
Wow.
I had to learn Mandarin in Vancouver because my kids' friends' moms didn't speak any English. They only spoke Mandarin Cantonese. So
Wow.
I taught myself some Mandarin so I could communicate for play dates.
Yeah.
So you learn it all, and when you're in the events industry, you're dealing with, who's working in those hotels. Are they indigenous community? And you have to understand that culture in a lot of states and countries. Are they Hispanic community? Which community and culture do you have to really understand and respect to be good
Yeah.
in your business?
Yeah, yeah, I like that. I like that perception. I don't talk to a lot of people that do branding on here. When did you get into branding? When did that become something that was a passion of yours?
So it's kind of funny because I really have always been doing branding, but I didn't
Mhm.
say that I was doing branding. But
Sure.
our clients were Fortune 500 clients in New York City. We did branding every day, all day long. I mean, we were
Mhm.
doing the big conventions, and we would take over the whole city sometimes, and hotels, and we did tours and experiences and excursions, and everything was branding. I mean, when American Express and Visa were both my clients, right? So, in fact, I did all of Amex's employee holiday parties in their offices, which was my favorite. But we did a
Nice.
lot of work for Amex. And so, when we were doing an event for Amex, let's say we were doing a dine around or an event and they had a coat check, we had to look at the coat check tags. How many people would think we need to look at the coat check tags months in advance because we have to buy rebranded co-check tags or pull them all because they say MasterCard or Visa, and this is an Amex event.
Oh my gosh, that's
Let
crazy.
me, yes. So for Coca-Cola, when we did their share owners, we took over the entire city with Coca-Cola. All the athletes and celebrities who were on all the boxes, the commercials, the packaging, all that, they were all part of this event. It was amazing. I had Muhammad Ali and Bon Jovi and Cal Ripken. I'm from Baltimore, so that was exciting.
Mhm.
So we had amazing beings that I got to work with, and they are their own brand when they're even there for another brand.
Mhm.
So I kind of always been doing it, but now it's been the main focus.
Mhm.
And Travis, I know you're in this industry and you understand this too. So we both do events and we both do branding and we both do marketing, but we do it differently, which is why you and I connected so quickly.
Mhm.
And I'm a big collaborator, so I love collaborating with people. The first thing is when we met at DJ's event at Elisa's podcast studio, I said,
Mhm.
"What are you doing?" And he said, "Branding," and I'm like, "Me too." I love that. And
Mhm.
I'm like, let's get on the call. Let's collaborate instead of, oh, you're my competition. I'm gonna go in the other room, pretend I didn't meet you. I'm gonna go check you out online. I didn't do
Right.
any of that, did I?
No, no, and for those that don't know, Samara's been so awesome to work with. She's been very supportive of the events. Who can I get you connected with? How can I help you? And for those that are listening, like that's the way to create partnerships, is really coming in and supporting the other person. Because you've also been in my shoes, so I think that's why you're so good at it. I went to one of my first events back in 2010, and it was just a pivotal moment for me in my life. And I was like, a couple of years later, I was like, man, I would love to put together these things. And just like most people, we have this idea, but then we just don't really take action, right? Taking action by yourself is scary enough. But it wasn't really till I hired a mentor till I really started doing these events. It started with Strengthen Your World is what I called it, which I still do till this day. It's the longest running event. But what got you into events? Why do you yeah, tell us a little bit about that because I think it's one of the best things that you can do to build your brand and get yourself out there. So what brought you into events?
So my mom actually planned conferences and entertained a lot at home. So I was always doing the events and the type A OCD personality little kid, who's the youngest of three, the only girl. And so I was helping her with all of that. And my sock drawer has been color coordinated in my closet my whole life. And so I was perfect to keep her office organized and color coded and filing. And I was selling the cassette tapes and the books for the speakers at the conferences. She was on the board of International Association Near Death Studies, which is called IONS. And the funny thing is that our good friend Sherry Gideon knew her. She calls her a legend. She knew her from the 80s, like that. My mom's been doing this so long. So
Wow.
she does different kinds of events now. She's more in the political world, but the thing with that is I knew I wanted to plan events, but I wasn't sure how to go about it. University of Maryland doesn't have a hospitality or event program. I initially went in for psychology, and then I changed my major sophomore year because I knew I wanted to do events. And the only way to do it, to loophole my way into the university, was to switch my major to public relations in the College of Journalism at University of Maryland. Being
Mhm.
among the Connie Chungs and all the bigs was pretty darn cool. And I ended up becoming president of Public Relations Student Society of America. I held all the meetings. I even saved the jobs of two of the professors and spoke and did an entire rally, and it was crazy at Maryland. And so I got a job in New York City at Empire Force Events before I graduated college, and I
Okay.
ended up getting top student for PR and all that, which was great because I immediately went into the New York City world while everybody was backpacking and taking time off. I went
Mhm.
right to New York and
Mhm.
we produced incredible events, like really mind-boggling to me.
Mhm.
And then when I moved around and was married to the Navy, I worked for them. And then ultimately, I left that industry. I was in New York City 9/11, watching the second plane go into the building and the building crumbling in front of my eyes. While my
Wow.
husband was at the Pentagon that day.
Whoa,
Plane went in
crazy.
there. Yep. And guess what, Travis? We lived in Florida. We didn't even live in New York and DC
Wow.
anymore. We had left those cities home wise, but work wise, obviously.
Hmm.
He was at the Pentagon with the officers of his submarine, did a tour with the admirals. And I was working, I had 150 pharmaceutical reps that had flown in the day before. The
Hmm.
crazy part is I was in the World Trade Center on that 101, I think it was, floor. And I used to plan a lot of events there. I know a lot of people that work there. And I was there doing a site tour for YPO Twin Cities. And I believe that was the Saturday or Sunday. They were setting up brunch. We were doing a site tour. And I remember like yesterday, we walked over to the window and my boss, Jackie, who's still running the longest running corporate event planning destination management company in New York, she's still there. And she started very young and I was like her protege. But
Hmm.
Jackie said, "Come here, let me show you some stuff," as we're waiting for the elevator to come to the top floor for us to go down.
Hmm.
And the guy who was the president of the YPO who was with us said, "No, no, no, I'm good. I'm good." We're like, "What do you mean you're good?" He's like, "I'm scared of heights." And we're like, you're fine. It's okay up here, but why, if you're scared of heights, why are we even looking at this for a venue for your group?" And he's like, "Well, it's the best." And so we're like, "Well, you're safe here." That was right before 9/11.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so my family and my husband all thought that I was at the Twin Towers that day, and nobody could get in touch with me or anyone else because no one's Nextels were working. And
Hmm.
so it was a crazy long story. I'm going to stop it there because that's a whole long story. I do tell it every year on the anniversary on social media. But
Yeah.
what the
Yeah.
reason why I told that story is because we were working with Coca-Cola and all the big clients then, and it was hard to focus on the linen count of a crew napkin and the shades and getting all the green M&Ms and all these little details when my husband just deployed on a nuclear submarine in the middle of a war. It was just very hard. So I ended up leaving that fast life because I wasn't fitting in the Navy wife lifestyle either.
Hmm.
And I became a pampered chef consultant.
Okay.
And I sold kitchen products in people's homes, which was a little crazy because I was a horrible cook and I burned everything. But I was going to be the perfect Navy wife if it was the last thing I did.
Yeah.
And so it taught me how to cook. I ended up quitting my job to become a consultant. Everyone made fun of me and thought I was loco.
Hmm.
And then I became one of the top recruiters for the company and spoke on big stages like the Dallas Convention Center and spoke in their breakout rooms for thousands, in front of thousands of consultants, and had to like overcome the fear of the stage. And so, and I was like, how we're doing the big banners that are huge at the convention centers?
Hmm.
My mom ended up coming to this because I was getting the President's Award. It was in 2006. And I have all these awards behind me, but right now we have the fake background. But so my mom comes and we walk into the convention center and we just look up. I'm massive. I am huge, like in front of me. I have goosebumps and I'm 5 feet tall. So I'm
Yeah.
looking at this, like, I don't know, 20-foot banner here at least.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, okay, I got to do this now. So that's why I went back into events. I missed it. When we moved to Houston out of Hawaii, my son was diagnosed with autism in Hawaii. He was only 1 year old. So I was juggling Pampered Chef. We moved it to Houston and then I was running it there successfully, had a huge team. And then we moved again to be closer to his preschool. And I mean, kindergarten. And I ended up going back into destination management and corporate events. And then Hurricane Ike came in 2008, 2009. The crash was all happening during that time. And so a bunch of us got laid off. The whole world was laid off, but
Hmm.
so we got laid off. And that week, literally, Travis, that week, I started Celebrations by Samara and ran a very successful, fun social event planning company for 12 years.
Okay. What what have you seen events do for your brand and for other people's brand? The people listening right now, they probably want to create their own event or they want to get on different stages. Why is an event so important in your mind?
So it's funny because it's really not about the event. Everyone's like, I want to plan a retreat. I want to plan an event. I want to plan
Mhm.
this. I want to plan that because it's fun. We get
Mhm.
together. We get to this, we get to get that attention. We get to help people. We get to make money. It's really not about the event. And this is where people are starting to change a lot of trend words, buzzwords. It's
Mhm.
about the experience. And it's actually about the stage experience. Now, a
Hmm.
stage is not always the big stages that we're going to be on, coming up for your Brand X event, where you have a big stage in a convention center or a hotel or a stadium or whatever. But it's really about what you're doing on stage to impact people. It can also mean a podcast interview like this. It can
Hmm.
be a YouTube channel, social media, live. It can be a boardroom, and it could be a room with, thousands of people, hundreds of people, whatever, or a
Hmm.
retreat or a experience with like, zip lining. Whatever it may be, it's how you make people feel, right?
Yes, I love it.
And like many of you, I had to close my 12-year-old company during the pandemic, and I did not want to stay virtual. I am seriously a hugger. Like I am a hugger.
Yeah,
You met me once, I might have shook your hand. Oh,
yeah.
I will hug you so hard when I see you
Okay.
next.
All right. I love it.
But it's about embracing the power of the virtual and the in-person stages. Even though I prefer live, I really did have to embrace the virtual. And people need to understand that even if you're not in a theater or a ballroom or a convention center or at a retreat, you have to try to also impact them virtually, which is also
Mhm.
really hard. Not
Yeah.
my favorite. It is hard. In fact, your friend keeps had called me again this morning, but I was getting ready. He has a game show company, Todd, and so
Mhm.
he's going to be a participant at the Brand X, and we met
Mhm.
on your Zoom. So
Mhm.
we talked briefly. We've been playing a lot of phone tag.
Mhm.
I did a lot of game show events. Super
Mm.
fun. I did a Harry Potter bar mitzvah where we had Harry Potter trivia with the Jeopardy stands and doing all of that. I've
Mhm.
done Family Feuds. I've done game like your kind of game shows, Survivor, and those types of shows that you see on reality TV. Those are
Mhm.
team building, those are team bonding, those are engaging. It doesn't have to be a corporate team building event to do something like that. There's so many creative ways, and inexpensive to very expensive, to really impact and bring power to people and the ideas and something fun and unique. You got to do research, or hire a
Yep.
planner.
Yeah, so I was just talking about the first event we did was called Strengthen Your World. Over time, it actually changed to the Strengthen Your World leadership experience because it was an experience. It was out of your seat. It was doing these crazy dynamic meditation exercises. It was putting blindfolds on them and having them do stuff. Like it was really, really an experience. And I would have to echo that, like make it an experience for people. The old way of holding events is kind of dying. You know, you sit there and you just take notes the whole time. You got the boring PowerPoint.
Yeah.
And I can't even believe people still pull out the PowerPoint. I can't even believe it. Whenever I go to events, someone pulls out a PowerPoint. I was like, have you had any speaker training? Not that you can't use PowerPoint, but it's just unbelievable that they would do that, which I think we've all been there. I mean, I remember giving my first presentation years ago and putting everyone to sleep by sharing all this information, right? You know, and it's really, branding is more about how are you framing your messages. You know, it's not the information itself, it's how you're framing, it's how you're delivering that. And a big part of building your brand, which is PR. How would you explain PR to people, and why is that, in your opinion, so important for building a brand?
So, those are all great. And I do PowerPoints occasionally. It's funny because I didn't do them because I don't love them either. And I wasn't doing them for my retreat revenue masterclass. This is how I reverse engineered my business.
Hmm.
And but people were like, it would be so much easier and better if you had a PowerPoint so we can have somebody take notes and take screenshots. So then I was like, "Ah, fine."
Yeah, but I would push back on that because you talk to women and you go, oh, what do you women want in a man? And then you listen, and it's what you say is not what you really respond to, though, I would say.
Exactly. But it's just funny you say that because there is a time and a place for the PowerPoint, but try to still make it engaging
Hmm.
and try to mix it up a little bit, like go back and forth. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but I have the retreat revenue, the ultimate retreat workbook, which is on Amazon. Let's see if I can get it here. So that is here, I'll just take this off real quick. So this is available on Amazon, but what I did, and this is a great idea for anybody who's a course creator, is what I did was I took the handouts from my course and I made it even cooler and I made it into a workbook and it's really fun and engaging.
Nice.
And so this is something that you can do, and then you can get this to your people. This one I actually did on Canva.
Nice.
And then I have a bucket list, the ultimate paid to vacation bucket list planner because I have a bucket list thing. I'm a bucket list actionista. But when you're doing this stuff, you got to market yourself. This is the perfect opportunity. QR codes. Look at the
Mm-hmm.
back. More QR codes,
There you
websites,
go.
challenges. Put that all in there. It's great marketing, and they're paying for it because they're buying your book. But also, you can do lead magnets with digital downloads and freebies. Now, let's talk about PR. So, PR, and you mentioned some of this as well. PR is all about positioning, okay, and strategy. And the problem is that, sorry, I have to wear glasses if I'm going to start seeing you without
Oh,
crossing
oh,
my
you're
eyes.
good.
So the thing with PR is that there's different kinds of PR, and there's people who are experts, just like you have a YouTube expert and a LinkedIn expert and someone who's good with, other TikTok. You have different experts in the public relations field. So you have crisis management,
Mm-hmm.
like if there's something that goes in the industry when we were, in pipelines and oil, when something happens, like there's protests or someone dies in a mine or whatever happens, crisis management, public relations is there. It's public affairs, public relations. So that's one kind of PR, two kinds really, because public affairs is more, I would say political, but somebody can, it's more like political, even if it's corporate political.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got the different kinds of PR that are your press release writing. I actually interviewed, before I interviewed with Empire Force Events in New York City, I
Mm-hmm.
interviewed with Mallory Factor, and the person that was running that is Richard Aaron. Richard Aaron and David created BizBash. So anyone here who's been in the events industry knows BizBash.
Mm-hmm.
So I've known Richard since the 90s, and he wasn't even BizBash back then, but he was working for a PR firm, but he was doing events in PR. And that's why I went into PR, because there is events in PR, because PR, branding, marketing, and
Mm-hmm.
events really kind of all come together in a framework, just at different stages, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, I have a horror story with PR. So remember years ago when you actually had to be someone to get verified on Instagram and
Uh-huh.
Facebook?
Oh, yeah, I
So
forgot about that.
yeah, now you could just pay for it. But anyways, was I submitted a couple of times and I'm like, how come they're not allowing me to get the blue check mark? I'm like, I have a bunch of press releases. I've been on the news and anyways, I come across this company and they're like, yeah, we can get you verified. It's just a matter of, interviewing you. And then we have a lot of connections where we can go get you on these different journals and things. And so I was like, okay. I was like, how much is it? And they're like, it's $10,000. And I was like, okay, well,
Yeah.
it's the blue check. I think will be worth it. So paid the money. They wrote really good articles, did an interview, got on a lot of different uh, journals and gosh, I can't even remember which ones I'm on at this moment in time. Digital Journal, Entrepreneur, all the mainstream ones you hear. And then as soon as I finished doing all that, they then allowed you to buy the check mark. I was so pissed. I was so pissed, Samara. I was like, oh my gosh. But it's done, it's packed. I still have those
Oh, I'm
and
so sorry.
you have the little names of all the things you've been. So it still looks cool. What would you say though to the people who are like, the branding's fake and that's stupid. I come across a lot of people, I want to fly under the radar. I don't do the social media thing. What would you say to those types of people? Because I come across those people all the time. I want to hear what you have to say about this.
That's a great question. And, the thing is that they either had a bad experience and someone took advantage of them or didn't know what they were doing and didn't have a strategy and just was posting and doing, or they just are negative Nellies. You're always going to have some negative Nellies out there. I can't help that. But usually it's a poor experience, overpaid, something like that.
Mhm.
And so I love that. Produce that challenge to me, and we can show you that we can do better. In fact, we just made a Poolside Press. Our marketing and positioning. We just made a 2015 book by publishing a speaker friend of mine, and we just made Johnny's book a bestseller in 5 categories. He had 125 sales. within like a very short period of time. And this book was published in 2015. And so we brought it back. We did it like a couple weeks ago and we produce we get it out there. And so getting it out there is key. So, but the thing is that you have to be omnipresent. And Grant Cardone talks about this all the time. And it's
Hmm.
very true. You have to be on all platforms, which is why Samara Beth and Company helps you with immersive branding across all platforms. We have to figure out, do you belong in Pinterest? Do you belong on TikTok, which I would watch out for because who knows how long it will be around?
Yeah.
But do you belong on Instagram and Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube? Where do you belong? And we will make sure that our team is put together based on that. So I treat my branding team, my PR branding team, the same as I did my events teams, which I still do events. Events is
Hmm.
part of it, but people keep jumping into events before they're ready. You
Hmm.
need to create the proper brand, and you might already
Hmm.
have one. And a lot of people think, and Travis, I know you're going to get this. What's a brand to most people? A logo,
Hmm.
colors, a website.
Yeah.
That's it. That's not
Hmm.
a brand. That's just
Hmm.
a couple tools.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, when we do an audit of what they have, we realize they're not getting the coaching business and the speaking business and all the things they want because they're not stepping outside of a comfort zone. They're doing what I call, no offense to Canva, but a Canva kind of template website. Like that's what they're doing. They're doing templates. I have
Hmm.
Go High Level. And if there's a template on there, you won't recognize it when we're done.
Yeah.
We might use it for some basics, but that whole thing needs to be changed out. And it needs to be cool and immersive. And people need to feel it in all their senses. They need to get goosebumps, They
Yeah.
need to, why would someone pick up the phone and pay you $50,000 and not someone else?
Yeah.
I do want to
For-
address the press thing too, though, if you don't mind.
yeah, please do. Please do.
So we actually write articles for like I don't know, like 400 different journals and outlets and weeklies and medias and whatever in all the
Hmm.
different cities. And then we also do Forbes, USA Today, and Inc. And then we can get you into Washington Post and New York Times. That's an application process, and they interview you. The other ones, we actually write the articles for that. We submit them. And so the press being all over the place is part of the omnipresence. So what
Hmm.
you did was great. And what you need to do is keep making sure that it's helping you with your SEO and getting on all your websites, posting on your social medias, make sure that other people are posting it. So, because the more you are on the internet, as my mom still calls it, the World Wide Web, the internet, the more omnipresent you are. If someone doesn't know what omnipresent means, it's everywhere. You have to be
Hmm.
like God. You have to be everywhere because you never know where that person's going, and it does help your SEO.
Yeah, absolutely. And going back to the conversation talking about earlier, for the people that kind of resist it a little bit more, at the end of the day, your life in all your adventures that you get to go on is all dependent upon how well you do in business. And how well you do in business is usually based upon one very, very important thing is do you get attention and do you keep attention? And that's it, right? I use a metaphor like if all my clients hung out in the park down the street, I'm going to be at the park down the street. Okay. If people hung out at the gym all day, which I do go to the gym every day, that's where I'm going to be. I'm going to be where people are at. Now, in our age, where are people at? Well, they're on Instagram. I think, is Instagram taking over Facebook yet, or is Facebook still the king?
Meta, all Meta, and now like it looks like TikTok's tying into Meta.
Really?
I've been noticing that recently. There's just I don't know what's going to happen with TikTok. I don't know when your listeners are hearing this, but TikTok comes and goes every 2 seconds. It's a fight with China and our American politics. So I don't know what's going to happen with TikTok. But here's the number one thing, Travis: save your material, back it up. You can back up
Mhm.
LinkedIn, you can back up all these things. My 15-year-old Facebook account was hacked a year and a
Mhm.
half ago. I had to rebuild my entire everything
Oh
because
my gosh.
5 accounts, Facebook, Instagrams, business accounts were all tied to that one account.
Oh my
Oosh.
gosh.
I
I've
lost
heard horrors.
everything. And you know how often I moved.
Yeah.
It was my
Yeah.
lifeline, and I can't get
Yeah.
people back from like growing up and previous clients and all that because they think it's not really me that's contacting them. And so
Yeah.
it's been I had to start over and rebrand my entire personal life and business life after I got divorced.
Yeah.
So starting over, that's why I say I'm a reinvention maverick. It doesn't always mean that you're rebranding yourself, but I've had to, when you move a lot or you start over or you start a new business, you have to get out there and network your butt off. And that's what Travis and I do. You
Yeah.
know, I will say, Travis, there's no such thing as bad PR.
Mm.
I'm going to give you some
I hear
examples.
Grant Cardone say it, dude. It don't matter if they hate you or love you. All that matters is they know you, man. Like,
So he
tell us a bit
does.
about that. Why? I mean, I
Yeah.
believe it. Everyone has a different like twist on it. What's your viewpoint on that?
So I'm going to tell you two things. One is so Grant's wild. I love him. He's very different in person than he is in in as you guys see him on social
Hmm.
media. That's him and Brandon and Elena and Natalie getting attention. And I'm across the street from the office in here in Scottsdale. I fly to Miami all the time to that office.
Hmm.
And so it's being surrounded by the executives and the sales team is amazing because we're with them every day
Hmm.
virtually. So when I get to go in person, it's a wonderful experience. He's so funny. He really is a piece of work. Him and Brandon, I mean, I'm on Zooms with them. I was just with Brandon yesterday and Grant last week, and they're so quick, they're so smart, and they're so quick, and they give you ideas and like go run with it now. Everyone's like writing down, writing down, writing down.
Hmm.
But it's Grant says we were raised with it's who you know. That's what I was raised with. I don't know about you. But it's not just who you know, it's who knows you and who
Hmm.
trusts you.
Hmm.
And you guess what? I lost a lot of trust in people in the last 5 years. And so you really learn about people when you go through certain situations, especially you and I both went through a divorce.
Hmm.
We both have kids and, co-parenting. Like there's a lot of things that happen in those situations or friend breakups, political challenges because you don't see eye to eye with people and that is an issue. It shouldn't be an issue for me. My friends are everything. They're every race, religion, they are every color. They are from all over the world. They have different political views. You're still my best friend as long as you really believe in true humanity and don't buy into BS propaganda. But
Hmm.
other than that, like when you're having bad PR, so Grant did not make that up. That we learned that in back in the 90s. So there's no such thing as bad PR. And I'm going to give you a current example that your listeners are going to love.
Okay, let's
Okay.
hear it.
So if you live in the United States of America, you know Cracker Barrel. And Cracker
Hmm.
Barrel's been all over the news. When's the
Yeah.
last time Cracker Barrel's been on the news? Probably decades.
Hmm. Yep.
But if you ever road trip, like when we go to Vegas or we go up and down the 95 or Route 1 or whatever, Cracker Barrel is definitely the best option compared to fast food type. I'm a healthy eater,
Hmm.
but also you get to sit down. They have a cute mom and pop shop, they have a candy shop. I
Hmm.
always buy something in that shop. In fact, my kitchen hours are is a big wooden plaque is on my kitchen wall, and it tells you when my kitchen is open for business, meaning
Oh,
when I
nice.
cook.
Nice.
So, but Cracker Barrel went through a really tough time recently because they hired someone new to run a new marketing branding program and project. They looked at, I believe, from what I hear in podcasts, three different marketing companies. They redid the logo. They got rid of the old man Herschel. They got rid of the barrel, which
Hmm.
hello, Cracker Barrel.
Yeah.
They got rid of the everything. It was
Such
just
a weird move. Such a weird move.
such a weird move, and it was so random, and it was like the logo became like something that someone in college did as like an experiment on Canva.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Hmm.
So but they did more than that, Travis. They gutted out the restaurant and totally changed it and made it look like a coffee shop in like a a low like a Embassy Suites. It really was horrible. And
Hmm.
so people went nuts. It's all over the news, it's all over podcasts, it's all over emails, LinkedIn, everywhere. And you know what is amazing about Cracker Barrel is that it was my comfort zone. And so I took off for those who are just listening, I just took off my screen again so you could see me and my real words.
Nice.
This is a photo of my family. This is my daddy who just passed away.
Hmm.
That's me, my son Gavin, Ava, and my mommy, who is going to be
Hmm.
78. They look amazing. This photo is not that old, actually. It was in 2000 and I don't know, 21. That was our first Thanksgiving after I was no longer living in my house with my husband. So we were like, oh, what are we gonna do? It's like it was my favorite holiday. I hosted it every year. My parents did. We made a big deal out of it. My husband made the turkey. I made the sides and the desserts. It was a big thing, and it
Mhm.
was depressing. But we went to Cracker Barrel. We waited 2 hours to get a
Wow.
table. So we
Wow.
went over. So we went over and played at what's that store, that the hunting sports store, the big one.
Chills, big
No,
fight. Gosh.
it's okay. It'll come to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, so we went in there. We were playing and hanging out there, looking at the aquarium. We waited 2 hours to get a table on Thanksgiving at Cracker Barrel. Like, that's redunculous.
Yeah.
But it was an experience, and they took a beautiful picture of us, and it was a memorable time. And we laughed. They ran out of pumpkin pie and pecan pie
Wow.
by
Wow.
time they got to us.
Yeah.
But we laughed. What else? We laughed. What are you gonna do? And we remember it. And
Yeah.
this is on my refrigerator.
Yeah.
So document it. No, and here's the thing, they went back in their PR, and in going back in their PR, they now have all the old stuff back. And guess what? I guarantee you, because their sales plummeted, I guarantee you they're gonna have record sales in the
Yeah.
next 2 years
Yeah.
because of it.
Just top of mind, type of thing. When you last question, this is getting a little personal. When you went through your divorce, how did you navigate like that transition? And when I went through my divorce, it's like splitting of the Red Sea. You really find out, who your friends are. I had a friend fly down from Utah to be with me, and it was really hard to say I need help because we're so used to helping other people and being that that force for good and being that anchor for people. So it was really hard, but I had some friends that showed up in the worst way, and I had some other friends that I was really hurt and disappointed with how they showed up and the things that were said, behind my back. And it was really just it wasn't even the divorce itself; it was just all the transitions. What would you say to someone that's maybe going through a hard time, a transition in their life, and they're maybe concerned about what people might be saying behind their back or stuff that's getting said?
Oh, good question. Very personal. A lot of things I can't legally say.
Yeah.
But what I can say is that you do know who your real friends are. And even like with what's going on with politics and wars, you kind of know where you kind of go towards some of that, because I hate drama. Like I run from it.
Hmm.
And so in this particular situation, I had friends that were my best friends for decades that betrayed me in the worst way possible. I actually lost a lot of friends in the divorce and no longer speak to any of them. And family, I was best friends with my sister-in-law, very close with my mother-in-law. I love my nephews and all that. And
Hmm.
I left all of it. I had to. I had to leave. I had to start over, which is why it was very interestingly convenient that my Facebook was hacked and destroyed right
Hmm.
after that. But we had a lot of military friends. I don't talk to any of them anymore. My sister-in-law was with someone from the Air Force, and one time she said to me, and she was Air Force too, and she said to me years ago, well, no, when we were going through it, because she was my support during everything, and then she betrayed me too. So what happened was, she said, when you divorce the military, you when you divorce someone from the military, you divorce the military. They divorce you, basically. That's when they immediately go to the person they went, to the academy with, or who they were with, whatever.
Hmm.
But that wasn't fully true. There are some people that, because I was the connector. I stayed in touch with everyone. I was the one who did the holiday cards and the letters. I sent out 300 holiday cards every year, and that
Dang.
list was growing all the time. It got to 500. I just stopped doing it. I was the connector, and then I had to go quiet. I got very sick. Um, and I had anxiety-induced seizures, and I had actually like this mini stroke, which was very weird.
Wow.
And was fainting and was 94 pounds and very, I was just in a deep, deep traumatic, depressive state.
Hmm.
And I went somewhere to help me to help me get through that. It wasn't 100%, but there were maybe two people on this planet that were really there for me. And the rest, like, I just had to keep my distance because I didn't know who to trust anymore.
Hmm.
But my biggest advice is my nickname is Lil Bamboo, Lil/Bamboo. and I have
Okay.
bamboo all over.
Nice.
I was named that by Coach Ron Tunick in the Clubhouse days because I was very
Mhm.
active in Clubhouse. Clubhouse actually saved my life. I needed the noise. And so sometimes we go to the noise to help us get, help us stay, but really what we need is the meditation, not the
Mhm.
noise, because cutting the noise out is like cutting addiction, whether it's alcohol or cigarettes or drugs or whatever. That noise is actually an addiction because it keeps you think it's keeping you sane, but it's actually not healthy. So as a coach, I help people with resilience and overcoming. I'm not a therapist by any means. People should go to therapy. They should do that. But they should also look to people that have written books or who are coaching on those topics. And there are so many. And if you don't know anyone, let me know because I know hundreds and thousands of coaches around the world, and many of them are divorce coaches or abuse coaches if somebody's been in an abusive relationship or narcissism or whatever it may be. So everyone's a little different. Everyone's situation is different. But just remember you're grieving. I lost my son Cameron. He's buried in Houston, and I was working at the corporate event planning destination management company during that. They all closed the doors and came to the funeral, which was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then Hurricane Ike came and it just wiped out Houston. And so I lost my job. I lost my son. I lost my sanity. I was in such a deep depression. I couldn't stop crying. And I had a 5-year old with autism I had to tend to.
Yeah.
And
Wow. That's incredible.
yeah, and my husband at the time was, I don't know if he started his MBA yet, but he was doing executive MBA and working in the oil industry. And so it was really hard. And it took me years to come out of that. But what happened was after I lost him, I I got pregnant right away with Ava, and she's my miracle child. And she was born. My kids' birthdays, by the way, are February 13, 15, 19. And it's like roller
Wow.
coaster, Valentine's Day triggers, right? You get triggered, and now you're like, oh my God, no
Yeah.
more triggers, please. But you just have to get through that. It just means you're so I bring that up, Cameron, because it's a grieving process. So when you're getting divorced, you're grieving. When you're losing your friends, you're grieving. When you lose a child or a parent, I just lost my dad, that was awful, you're grieving. When, relationships come and go. There are people that I was best friends with years ago and they come back decades later, and that's okay. That's the best part about me and having me as your friend is that no matter when we talk, it's like we didn't leave each other. And
Mhm.
that comes with the military life and that practice. You have to live that way, right? So I hope I answered your question. I do write about resilience and bamboo and winning your brand because I'll end with this. WIN stands for willpower to keep going when life feels impossible, which is what we were talking about, the bamboo part,
Mhm.
innovation to think creatively and outside the box, and networking to build powerful communities. Three things
Mhm.
that you're doing, Travis, that I do, and that everyone needs to do. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, you have to go through it. And I know a lot of people are getting let go from their jobs, and there's a lot of transition. AI, you talked about it earlier, it's huge. Brian Tracy said this yesterday. You either jump on the train or you're left behind. Remember the big computers? We couldn't move anywhere, but if we had needed to take it somewhere, we'd take a big computer and we had to take it with us. That was a laptop. Remember the old cell phones?
Yeah.
So you have to go with the flow.
Love it. Yeah, because I think it's important to there's this saying or this mantra or I don't know how you'd say it, the imagine trying to craft this person that is resilient and strong and confident and certain and can find peace easy, and imagine what this person would need to go through to be all those things,
That's right.
and so I remember my friend saying that something he's like, this too shall pass, and I
Right.
remember finding such peace in when he said that. He's like, it will pass. And then he's what really flipped my paradigm is he said, I would also say that about the good times as well. This too shall pass. You don't have a good life, you don't have a bad life, you don't have a hard life, you don't have an easy life. You have a life and it's up to you to do with it. You have a brand and it's up for you to do with it. When you're going through those hard times, I think the thing that I had to is like really decide who you want to be. Really decide, what's the narrative you want to create about yourself, and that's what branding is. So Love the conversation. I wish we could talk more, but we will be seeing you at BrandX September 19th and 20th. Super excited. How can people follow you? How can people get a hold of you?
Great question. And it's funny that you said this too shall pass because I'm not wearing it right now. I usually wear it every day, but I have a ring from Jerusalem that says that in
Mhm.
Hebrew.
Oh my God,
It's
that's awesome.
Gamze Ya'avor. And this too shall pass is literally one of the most important, you'll see it a lot if you go to Israel. Very
Hmm.
important saying because everyone needs to be resilient and go through things. And you can find me, Samara Beth, at samarabeth.com. And my name is spelled S-A-M as in Mary, A-R-A. My middle name is Beth, B-E-T-H. .com. And then I also have, we're actually rebranding myself, my branding website. So we're moving
Nice.
my current website over to samarabethandco.events, and we're making samarabethandco.com all about branding, PR, and marketing. So you'll see that coming soon. That'll be done before your event. It'll be done this week.
Cool.
And you can book a call with me through that whole process. We do done for you services. We do done with you, which is coaching. And then do it yourself. I have evergreen courses and workbooks. And my book, I'm a best-selling author and co-author books, and I have my solo book coming out probably in the fall, if not winter.
Mhm.
So that's coming out too, and it's about winning your brand. And it tells stories, and it talks about going from little bamboo to badass bamboo.
I love it. I love it. Okay. Well, I appreciate being on here, guys. Go share this message if you feel like someone can benefit from it. Be inspired in what you do. You have a story. Get it out to the world, and we'll talk soon. Good talk.
Hey, you know you have a story to share with the world, which means you need to get on more life stages. We have a jam-packed schedule in 2024 full of events, including our biggest event year to date, Brand X. Go to benextgen.com/speak. Again, benextgen.com/speak. Or you could just click the link in the description. Fill out an application. Our team will reach out to you and show you how our speaker partnership works. Get on a stage, get video, blow up your brand, blow up your business. Let's go.